or as I'm running, I see a car on the right shoulder, so the opposite side of where we are, because we're on the left on the inside lanes of 75. I see a wrecked car on the other side. Okay, I didn't really think about it. And as I'm going, I see Mitchell's car, and then I look over to the left, and I see Mitchell laying on the freeway. We don't know exactly what to do, but we know we're going to try. And so my partner had trauma shears, so we start cutting stuff off. I grab his head to try and stabilize it. And by this time, more people start showing up. And we're just trying to do anything we can. He hadn't moved. Couldn't really tell if he was breathing at this point.
It's hard having a spouse in law enforcement because you don't know what kind of text or call you're going to get in the middle of the night.
Sergeant Brian Price, he was out there, and he got out of his car about the same time, and he walked over to me, and he just gave me the biggest hug. And I just remember I told him, I was like, I tried, Sarge. I tried.
You're listening to the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast, brought to you by the Assist the Officer Foundation.
Since 1999, the ATO has given assistance to the first responder community. And now we want to give them a platform to hear their incredible stories.
We also want to hear the stories of the many people that support us.
Our community is small, but it is strong.
We have differences. We don't always agree, and we all make mistakes.
But together we can grow, we can heal,
And we can learn from those mistakes.
and together we can bridge the divide.
On a cold February day in 2021, Dallas Police Officer Connor Smith put on his uniform and headed to work expecting to answer calls, protect the city, and return home at the end of the shift. Instead, he found himself at the center of a tragedy that would change him forever. The events of that day left scars that cannot be seen, memories that cannot be forgotten, and moments that still echo in the quiet hours. He would be forever haunted by what he witnessed, and the lives forever altered by this tragedy. Yet, rather than allowing that pain to define him, Connor transformed it into a mission. He chose to honor those affected by dedicating himself to serving others, supporting fellow officers, and sharing the realities of trauma, resilience, and healing. His story is not simply one of survival. It is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the courage required to carry the burden while continuing to answer the call to serve. Connor, welcome on.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Well, I want you to introduce on your beautiful wife,
Hello.
Kayla. Tell the listener a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am 28 years old. I am a school nurse. I've been a school nurse for, I think, like 5 years now, actually. Really love it. Love working with the kiddos, working with the school staff and all of that. And yeah, I'm happy to be here with you guys.
What age children do you work with?
So I'm with pre-K. So I work with 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds with special needs.
Okay, wow. Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing that, you said?
This current school I've been at, this will be my second year. The first 3 years I did elementary school. So kindergarten, pre-K through 4th grade.
That's got to be tough, especially dealing with the special needs.
I love it, honestly.
Well, I'm glad you do.
It can be tough.
Yeah.
It can be because they can't really verbalize, what's going on sometimes. But, I truly do love it.
It is a specialty. We have a lot of our ATO counselors. Some just don't see kids at all, and some specialize in kids. It is something not everybody wants to take on.
That's got to give you a little bit frustrating, though. I've got a 15, 18, and 20-year-old, and they can't verbalize what's wrong. They're like, I don't feel good. I'm like, what do you mean you don't feel good? I just took one to the ER this weekend because he had an allergic reaction, was just kind of like, I feel horrible. I'm like, what? Elaborate, please. Tell me what's going on while you can't breathe.
Yeah, well, I'm about to be 52, and I can't even. I don't even.
Maybe the kids are better than we are. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, we got a lot to get to, and we have a long story to tell. So, that being said, Connor, you're going to be up. Tell us about where you grew up and the home dynamic.
So I was actually born at Charlton Methodist here in Dallas. My parents were living in East Texas at the time, and my dad was a student pastor for a church in Canton. And then whenever I was 2 years old, we moved down to College Station, Texas. Sorry for all the Aggie fans. I'm not. And grew up there, lived there until I was 21.
So what college did you go to?
I went to Sam Houston State. First, I started at Blinn College in Bryan for 2 years, but then I went to Sam Houston in Huntsville.
What was your major?
Criminal justice, and I didn't have a minor.
So did you have an interest in being in law enforcement even then?
Yeah.
So tell us about that, how that...
That kind of sounds like it. It's a plan A only deal.
Right.
Yeah, I only had one plan. Since the 7th grade, I wanted to be a police officer. Like I said, whenever we moved, my dad was a pastor or a student pastor when we moved, and then whenever we got to College Station, he was a head pastor at Living Hope Baptist Church down there and in College Station. And he would go right out with the officers in College Station as a chaplain. And back then, ride-alongs were a little different than they are now. And so he actually got to get involved in the fights.
Clobber some folks.
Yeah, and so he would come home and tell those stories, and I was just like, man, that's what I want to do.
So I'll say this about the chaplains. Their role and function usually when they show up to a scene in our department, and it's usually not for something really good, and it's something it's grief, it's loss, it's serious injury. Is your dad deal with a lot of that? Right.
Yeah. So a lot of the times, like, they would call him out to deliver death notifications because College Station was a smaller department at the time, and so he would be kind of like get to do his pastoral care job just with the police.
So do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older sister. She's 37. She works with children with autism. She's trains clinical directors for autism clinic.
Okay.
And then I have an older brother. He's 35, so he's 5 years older than I am. And he is a football coach for Athens High School.
Nice.
And then I have a younger sister, and she is a receptionist at a vet clinic here in Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're all still all homegrown Texas folks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking through your show notes. I want to go jump into Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
Can you tell us that story? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so whenever I was at Sam Houston, so I had moved to Huntsville at this time, and Hurricane Harvey hit, the coast of Texas and Houston pretty hard. And so I actually came back. My parents had moved to Louisville by this time, and so I came back home to Louisville while the storm was down there and campus was shut down, so there were no classes going on. So I just came back up north, and then after about a week went back down to Huntsville. And our church at the time, University Heights down in Huntsville, they were planning a lot of relief trips and just providing any assistance down in the Houston, south of Houston and Webster. Any help that was needed, construction work, clearing out houses, anything like that. And so that's what you went and assisted with? Yes. So can you kind of just paint us a picture, describe the scene when you got down there? I saw the news, but you had a firsthand account. Can kind of just paint a picture for us on that? Yeah. So the church that we went down to assist, who actually had the jobs lined up, they were just sending out crews. Just whoever showed up, they would give you an address and say, go figure out something to do. And
yeah, because I'm sure there's a ton to do.
Yeah, there's so much. And so Kayla was actually with a group of her friends and 2 other people, and I had done work trips like this my whole life. I mean, in the church, we would have church work days on Saturdays where we'd go do whatever, basically community service projects that were needed. And we would do mission trips over spring break. I mean, and so I had experience doing things like this before, and I saw Kayla was a little bit in over her head, and I went over and asked, I was like, do you want to co-lead this team with me?
Like, you want to go out and co-lead this team with
me? Right. So at first, you know, a little scared talking to girls, but
especially at a
after a tragedy,
natural disaster scene.
Yeah. But so I went and asked if she wanted me to help her lead this team, and so she said yes, and we went out to the location that they gave us, which was a street of kind of condominiums, and there was a little creek right behind where these condos were, and the guy that we helped clear out his condo was telling us that the water had risen high enough, so the bottom floor was a garage, and the water had risen to the top of the garage.
Wow.
And so there was just debris and piles on the opposite side of the street that we were just tearing out sheetrock, tearing out insulation, and just throwing all the trash over.
Just helping complete strangers.
Yes.
Yeah. Kayla, can you give your perspective on what you did and how this went, and I want to see if your story differs from what he said.
Yeah, so I went down with a group of my friends. One of my best friends, she lived down in that area. So the week before, we had gone to her house to kind of help clear out in that area. And so through our church, we went out there, and at the church, they asked our little group, like, who wants to be the group leader here? And no one said anything. And so I was like, okay, I guess I will. But I, had done mission trips before at my church when I was younger, but nothing ever like this, nothing like leading a team out there. So I was a little bit nervous. And then Connor came up to me, and, he was like, hey, we can co-lead this group. And I just felt this huge sense of relief. I was like, oh yes, please, let's work together on this, because I feel like I'm in over my head.
I would imagine everybody was. Is it fair to say that there was so much of a task to do, you didn't know where to begin?
Yes, it was devastating. People lost everything.
Yeah, so if I remember right, there was Hurricane Harvey, and then there was another one that they almost, was there 2 hurricanes really close together at that time?
I think maybe, but also Hurricane Harvey just sat over Houston for just days.
Flooded.
And so there was just nowhere for the water to go.
Several Dallas officers I know packed up and went down there, and I know that Chief allowed some officers to go down there and help everybody.
Yeah, wow.
It was so devastating.
It was needed.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all hit it off after meeting there at that catastrophe, and tell us how just the relationship started to grow after that.
Yeah, so I actually, right after that trip, our church was going down further, towards Galveston, to do a weekend trip, and I was going on that, and I was riding with somebody else. I couldn't remember if I had locked my truck or not, and so I had gotten her number on the previous trip, so
you got everyone's number.
I did, but then I texted only her to see if she would check and see if my truck was locked or not.
Yeah, smooth.
Yeah.
My friends were like, hey, he only texted you. That has to mean something, right?
It did.
Yeah, it clearly did.
Yeah. And then while I was down on that other trip, I just kept texting her, and we started talking about life and our families and everything like that. And that's where we went from there.
And here you are.
here we are.
You this long journey now. You're on a podcast together.
I know. Imagine that.
Look at us.
Look at y'all. So I want to get into you graduate in 2018.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I was the best student in college. I mean, I passed all my classes. I never had to drop any or anything like that, but I didn't care for school, and I went there to get a degree, and that was it.
It was a check the box.
It was, yeah. And so after that, I just started to – I moved back in with my parents in Louisville and because I hadn't had a job lined up, and I started to apply just about everywhere but Dallas.
Where all did you apply?
I went through testing with Irving, Flower Mound, Louisville, Carrollton. Think I submitted an application for Grand Prairie, but never heard anything back. 3 of those departments, I got to the oral board interview, and they told me that I needed life experience, which I'm like, how do I get life experience other than
So the
getting
house
a
in the
job?
middle of Hurricane Harvey. I got more than
right.
you.
How about how does that not count?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was trying not to go to Dallas, but then I submitted my application, and I was actually mostly done with the process of of Carrollton. They were going to hire me on as a jailer, and then after a year, send me through the academy to be a police officer. And I was waiting for my background to get done in Dallas, and they told me, you need to make a decision. And I told them, I'm going to wait and see what Dallas says, because my goal wasn't to be a jailer, it was to be a police officer.
It's kind of a common thing. We've had on a lot of people that other agencies outside of Dallas, they did hire people on to be jailers. But it would, in some cases, it's been great experience for people that couldn't get their foot in the door otherwise.
Right. And I mean, that would have been the life experience,
Yeah.
quote unquote, that they were talking about.
Well, speaking of life experiences, I read in your bio you had a friend that passed from a car crash.
Yeah. So not 100% sure on all the details, but it was when I was in college or just graduated, but he was driving, I believe, towards Palestine, and he had packed up. He was moving out there, and he had a rollover crash and passed away. And like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of details on it, and so that was definitely hard. He was a good buddy of mine. We played basketball all the time and hung out. So that was probably my first or second experience with like someone close passing away.
And dealing with grief.
Yeah, dealing with grief.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, we all go through it. We all go through it, whether there's a loved one or somebody we know die of an illness or a tragedy like that.
Right.
And you were in the process of wanting to get out of the apartment when this happened, right?
Right.
Okay. And then little did you know you were going to be exposed to a lot of people's grief and sorrow and violence.
Yeah.
And this was kind of like a,
it was kind of a start.
Yeah.
Did
you learn anything about yourself?
I feel like I learned that I know how to be strong for other people, and to just sometimes put my own feelings aside, because my little sister was really close with him as well. And my little sister and I have always been extremely close. I mean, like I said, there was 5 years between my brother and I. And so my older sister and older brother are one set, and my little sister and I are another. And so she had a hard time dealing with it as well. And so being there for her, I felt like was more important for me, and just being there for other people as well.
Well, helping other people, it is therapy in some ways.
Right.
But also it could get too heavy after a while.
Right. Yeah.
And we're going to, the story, we're building up to something. And also the weight of grief and sorrow. So tell us about hiring on with Dallas.
I told Carrollton no, and about maybe a week to 2 weeks later, Dallas called and was like, hey, when can you start? And I was like, oh, thank God, because that was my last egg. And so
Well, Dallas will hire. Yeah, we always hire. So
Yeah.
you'd have been fine.
yeah, they'll take anybody. You'll let anybody on the podcast, but it's
No, I won't let anybody on the podcast, I promise. Because there's several people that Kent knows this. There's several people that have asked.
Yeah. No, I know. But so Dallas called, and I believe it was January of 2019. They were like, "Hey, we have an academy." It was either January or February, and they said, "We have an academy class starting May 1st. Would you want to be a part of that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to." And they were like, "We could also hire you as a pre-hire." And so I started April 3rd of 2019 as a pre-hire in the special research unit.
Where is that planning?
It's kind of records. But it's second floor near where the background investigators are.
Yeah, okay. I know, yeah.
So I shredded a lot of papers and filed a lot of time cards.
Hear a lot of people sit around and complain.
No, because I was kind of in the back room by myself. They were just like, here's a stack of 500 time cards. Put these with the officer. And so did that. And
a lot of important work they didn't want to do.
Yeah. Just tried not to get paper cuts.
So when the academy finally got going, what surprised you most about it?
So for me, I have kind of always been a no-nonsense person, and I would say that I'm mature for my age, and I think the amount of people who just didn't take it as seriously as I thought they should, because, I mean, I'm here to work. I'm here to finish this academy and get out on the streets and do a professional job. But, some people like to joke around and horseplay.
You would have hated being
Oh,
academy.
100%. Yeah, I probably would have.
Yeah.
I mean, we had we had a class clown in there. He was a nut, but he was funny. And
Is he still on?
No, he's actually on a department down near Houston now.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, my DT partner always told me, he was like, "You're an 80-year-old in a 24-year-old's body." And so, because I mean, I started the academy, I believe I was 23 when I started. And so I was one of the younger ones in there. I don't think I was the youngest. And we had a range from, I think 21 was our youngest, to 45. And he was that guy was a DFR arson investigator.
Okay.
So we had 4 of those in our class, 4 of the DFR investigators. But yeah, and so I wasn't sure exactly what to expect whenever I went in, but I just knew that I had to make it through that first Friday, breakout day. No, I had Senior Corporal Simmons, Kevin Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
He's a sergeant now.
Mm-hmm.
And then
fugitive.
Yeah. And then Senior Corporal at the time, Andre Taylor, was out there as well.
We've heard of him.
Yeah, once or twice.
He runs a little bit.
Yeah.
He runs a little bit, and he punches really hard too.
Yeah, I do. You had a big engagement during the academy.
We did, yeah. So the time came where I was like, pretty sure I'm going to marry her. So I talked to my dad, and I'll give you all a little funny story. So my dad is a very, I don't know how to say it, like cheap, like he doesn't spend money.
I think the fancy way is frugal.
Frugal,
yeah.
Yes. That's a good word. And so I told him the style of ring that Kayla liked. And so he gets on his phone, and he's starting to look, and he's like, "What about this one?" He pulls up a ring from Facebook Marketplace.
It's that $75, Dad. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't quite that low, but I actually ended up getting that ring.
Wow.
It was like a $5,300 ring. Met the guy at Zales. Basically, he said it didn't work out, and so he was selling it, and so I got a breakup ring for
lucky number 2, huh?
Hey,
yeah. So
some people's trash, another treasure.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, but it was what she wanted, and so my dad helped me find that one.
Hey, if you marry a woman that marries you for the ring, you found the wrong one anyway.
Exactly.
So the ring is just a
symbol.
A symbol more than anything.
So you're in the academy, and we had a global pandemic. How did that look?
So I graduated the academy before.
You graduated right before. Okay.
Yeah. So
you're on training.
Right.
Okay.
I graduated the academy January of 2020.
Oh man.
And
okay. So you were on. So you would have been on what? Second phase or third phase?
Second phase.
Second phase.
Whenever the pandemic started. Yeah. So before the pandemic, actually, 2 days before the pandemic, is March 8th of 2020 is when Kayla and I got married.
Right before
So-
everything
Boy, you
shut
got
down.
in there before the curtain
Yeah.
fell.
Had no idea anything about it, and we got married, and then we came back, and then I went back to work. So we got married. I took my Friday off of training and my Monday off of training. So I went down to Georgetown, and then the next day we got married. The night of our wedding, we stayed in just outside of Waco, and then we came back. And did I go to work that night?
I think you went to sleep we went to your sister's house.
Right.
To spend the night. And you went right back to work.
Yeah. So I had a couple of days off, and we got married, and then the whole world shut down.
Then you started wearing a mask everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did that go with the honeymoon? Did you guys go anywhere? Or I guess you were on training. You really
So-
couldn't go to it.
Right. Yeah. So I was on training. So after training was done, of course, COVID's still going on, but we went up to Colorado for a week and went to Granby and just got to hang out, and there was a rodeo going on, so we got to go to that, go hiking and all that good stuff after training.
Yeah, the travel at that point was almost impossible. You know, you had to
Right.
have all sorts of different documents and
Yeah.
testing right before
Yeah.
you go. And God, what a weird time, man.
So I was in legal at the time, and you know that's the thing about shelter in place and all this social distance and stuff. And ball kept bouncing for first responders. What was the term they used for?
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah, 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
It was the best 2 weeks to drive to work ever.
Yeah.
Well, it was like so
No traffic.
it was no traffic. It was like going. It was like that
It was
movie.
like a ghost town.
Like
man.
I Am Legend with
Yeah.
Will Smith. I mean, it was like driving to Dallas. It was like,
Nothing.
and then gas went down to like
Right. That was
like,
nice.
like around $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
You know, working the streets, you're brand new. You're learning all these new things for real. You're not in the academy anymore, and now everything.
And now there's nothing to do.
Early on, there was still a lot of fear because I had.
Right,
I mean,
right.
the only thing that I did that was kind of dicey is going into. I had to go. Legal had to go into the jail, which is a big cesspool of
Everything.
It's
of
nasty
everything.
without COVID, yeah.
Right. It's COVID and then some. You're out there on the street and you're encountering people. You know, tell us about how that went.
Yeah. So I don't remember thinking about it a lot. I mean, I was out there. I had a job to do, and I mean, yeah, we had to wear masks, but 90% of the people had it pulled down below their chin anyways, or they used those little
Had their nose hanging out.
their neck sleeves or whatever that didn't stop
Gaiters,
anything.
the
Yeah,
gaiters,
the little
yeah.
gaiters. So I think there was just the aspect of I've got to go anyways. I can't just focus on that to where, I mean, yeah, at first we didn't know a lot about what COVID did or what it could do or how bad it was going to be. We knew it was pretty bad because, I mean, at least in my lifetime, nothing had ever shut down the world like this. Having the knowledge of just, hey, we've got a job to do. Like, we still got to go answer whatever calls comes out, regardless of if COVID-19 is out there or not.
It was out there. It was just
Yeah.
a matter of you're always, you know, being an officer, you're running the risk of some danger anyway. Then you add this extra layer of fear and
Right.
you know, something else I have to deal with.
Yeah. The crazy part was, you know, whenever I got out on the street, I worked Northeast. And Northeast is notoriously one of the busiest divisions on the department. And
It's got a little of everything.
a little bit of everything. When you looked at the call sheet during that time, there was maybe 2 calls. And as soon as they came out, people were trying to grab them because they were bored. And, I mean, even in Northeast, that's just unheard of now. You know, you log on at Northeast and there's just pages of calls holding.
Were people doing a lot of proactive work at that time?
I mean, some people when they could, but I mean, I worked the middle of the night, and so people weren't going out really during the day. I mean, there was even less at night. But, you know, my trainer and I, we kind of would drive around White Rock Lake and catch the people that were sitting in their cars, you know, doing things.
Curfew busters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Man, you got to be really hard up to be during
Right.
COVID sitting in a car messing around.
Yep.
So you talk about your trainer. It's a friend of the show, Sean Peace.
Yeah. Some people might have heard of him.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So, no, Sean was my third phase trainer. the first night I got in the car with him, he was like, "What haven't you done?" And I was like, "A lot." But I told him, I was like, "I haven't had a drug arrest." And so one thing about Sergeant Pease is that he is going to eat. He's going to make sure he can get something to eat. Well,
Smart.
the first thing we did was one of his friends in, I believe it was a friend in child abuse, called him and was like, "Hey, we got this guy in our interrogation room that we need somebody to take to jail." So we went down to the Child Advocacy Center and we took that guy to jail. Well, on the way back, that's when he asked me what I hadn't done yet. And he was like, "All right, I'm going to get you your drug arrest right after we get Angry Dog."
Was the lockdown still going on,
So,
or was it just loosening up?
It was just loosening up.
Okay.
Yeah. So there were definitely more people out, and people were coming out of their houses more, and restaurants were kind of opening back up, with, I guess, the closed tables and stuff like that. He called his friend, I believe was in the gang unit, and was like, "Hey, my rookie needs a drug arrest." So we went and ate, and then his friend called him back, and he was like, "Hey, I got your drug arrest." So we drove from Deep Ellum at Angry Dog and all the way up to Skillman at Lita, and he had told his friend, "Hey, don't search this guy. I want my rookie to do it." And so they had searched him. Well, they didn't find anything on this guy, and he was going to jail for a warrant anyways. And so Pease was like, "All right, we'll take him." But, as is a good practice, maybe not always a common practice, you search your prisoner. So
Right,
at that
yeah.
point, he became my prisoner whenever we decided to take the arrest. And so I was searching him and not finding anything, and I was still sort of fresh out of the academy, so I was like, I'm going to take this guy's socks off. And sure enough, a little baggie of meth was in there.
Wow.
And so he was definitely glad that I found it and that it was not found at the jail. The other two officers were not very happy that I found it because they've been on longer than I had. And
Yeah. Tough tea. They'll get over it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't even remember who they were, honestly.
Yeah. So that was your first drug arrest.
Correct.
And nasty old sock.
Yep.
Yeah, it happens, and I've actually taken people to jail, and the jailers have found drugs in the sock, and it's not
I've had
that it's not that common to search. So,
right.
Good job, rookie, on that.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah. Another major event that happened during COVID, and you were in the middle of, was the George Floyd riots. Can you kind of talk about what your role was in that?
Yeah, so I was actually on training with Pease during that as well, and so we would get to work, and they had the response teams set up, and they were like, "Hey, y'all are gonna go stage down." I don't even remember what the streets are anymore, but right over there by the old, what is it called, Reunion Arena?
Reunion Arena. Yeah.
So that's where we would stage, and the picture I sent you with me in front of the React truck and the heavy vest was actually from the riots. So
how did it look from your perspective being down in the middle of that?
Yeah, so we were off the night that they all kicked off. The really bad night that,
Yeah, the first two nights were really bad.
Right. So we were off both of those nights. It just happened to be his days off, and so we come back to hearing about that and wondering, is it going to be like that again tonight? And fortunately, it wasn't like that. After those first two nights, there was a lot of people. Just the amount of people whenever you're a rookie is just surreal because, you got your training, and you got a lot of other people with you, thankfully. But if they wanted to, they could do a lot of things.
They could overtake the city if they wanted to. Yeah. One thing that's frustrating about that whole time is that it seemed it was not just Dallas. Every major city USA and even smaller cities was dealing with this. And it seemed like COVID just took a vacation during that. Everybody forgot about it. The social distancing and everything. And we were seeing videos of officers, people ratting their face, no mask, And that was a really scary time for the city. And Were you out there for the bridge incident?
I was.
Okay, tell us about that.
So we got the call on the radio that the protesters had taken a left when they should have gone straight. So they had a group of officers that was behind them, and we actually went around to the opposite side of the bridge, kind of sandwiched them in on top of it. And I just remember that if you had an open cut, it hurt because SWAT was out there just gassing it.
Yeah.
And but Pease and I actually got separated at the time, and because one sergeant just told me, "Hey, start cuffing." So I had flex cuffs, and I just did what I was told and kept going through those. And then they were like, "We don't have anything to do with all these people. Like, we can't put them anywhere." And so finally Pease and I linked back up, and he was like, "Where did you go?" And I was like, "I was just handcuffing people." But yeah, it was crazy because just knowing how many people were out there, and they're trying to go one way, we're trying to push them the other way, but there's cops on the other side trying to push them still. And so I think eventually we just let them cross the bridge because they just went into Bishop Arts at that point.
Yeah, my brother was out there on that bridge in DPS, and he said that like in a matter of few minutes they like totally trashed the bridge with spray paint and damaging those bridges, which are fairly new.
Yeah.
He said, it was like locusts coming in, just destroying things.
Yeah.
So was there a fear at that point that we could lose this city?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know that I ever felt that, but I know that people did.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kennedy talked about it, and Matt Smith, they were out there in SWAT, and they counted how many. I mean, they had their watches, how many steps they went through, and Kent, you were out there in the middle of that as well. I mean, it was a nightmare for the city, and I would say we've seen cities across the country burn and a lot of damage.
Yeah, and
we were very lucky, but I think the people that are out there were so prepared, and there were so many lines drawn in the sand.
Yeah,
we weren't going to let it happen to the city.
Right. And I mean, I remember they would come out over the radio and just be like, "Hey, we just had a pallet of bricks dropped off at this intersection," and then you hear squad cars getting overtaken and burned, and people getting hit by the bricks and everything, which
had a horse hit with concrete. Yeah,
horse.
It was a unique scenario where the crowd mostly didn't want to do anything the police told them to, but they still did what we told them to do. Right? So if you said, "Hey, you can't go this direction, you got to go this direction," they pretty much complied with it. You'd have a couple that would stand there and yell at you and scream and throw some stuff, but for the most part, the other people were like, "Okay, we're going to go this way then."
Right.
So the thought of losing the city never entered my mind. I mean, it was very possible for sure. There was just way too many people for us to control with a 3,000 person department, and we didn't have everybody out there.
Yeah.
But it was like they were against you, but also still listening to what you were saying. Like it's like there was different rules for different things.
Yeah, it was the whole, "I'm going to do what you tell me to, but I'm going to complain the whole time."
100%.
Yeah.
Sound like cops. I'm just kidding.
We're still hiring.
Yeah, we're still hiring. Caleb, can you talk about, were you watching all this unfold on the news?
I was. I remember. I was. I remember watching the bridge incident, and it was a time filled with a lot of anxiousness for me personally, just because people were crazy during that time, and I feel like unpredictable, and I was worried that something would happen to Connor because I knew he was out there in the middle of it.
Yeah, it was scary. I got asked to come in and basically stay here and handle all of the anybody that was arrested, any charge. I was down on the first floor having to process those folks. Busy. Yeah. Well, every charge that came out of that, I had to have my hands on all those, and it was a mess. Yeah, well, we made it through.
Yeah,
and we learned a lot about that time too. And looking back now, we have 6 years of looking back. It was saying, man,
Yeah, we could do this better next time.
Yes, and hopefully we will.
Hopefully there's not a next time.
Hopefully there's not a next time. So I want to shift gears. We've talked about February 13th, 2021 before, and the Pentons have come on, and we've talked about their night and how that night went for them. I want you to kind of walk us through how that night looked for you.
Yeah. So started out as any other night. Woke up because I worked 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. at the time and headed into work. Had detail, and at the end of detail, there were officers out on 75 northbound who requested additional elements because of the location that they were. They were just above Walnut Hill, and there's kind of a hill right there that whenever you crest it, that's when you would see them. So they wanted us to come and provide additional cover. I had a little T partner that night, and anytime that I had a little T partner, I gave them the option if they wanted to drive, they could, because they just got off of training and had been doing all the reports. So I didn't mind doing reports if needed. And so we went out there. We volunteered to go out there. Our element was Alpha 215. And we got out there, tried to provide additional cover for these officers. And as we are sitting there, Mitchell Penton is behind us, and he's probably 25, 30 yards behind us at this time. He comes up to our squad car, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to loop around. They're still coming over this hill kind of fast." Okay. Yeah, like, don't think anything of it, right? Also, I will note that it was extremely cold this night. I think at one point it was 11 degrees on the car. And so he looped around, didn't think anything of it. And I'd say maybe 5 minutes later, a TxDOT salt truck comes and pulls in front of our car. And we're like, "Dude, you can't do this right now. We got it blocked off." That's our thought. And he gets out and is waving his arms. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I get out, and he just says, "Hey, your officer got hit back there." My initial thought is, I was like, okay, like, what do you mean? Is he in his car, or, what's going on? And so my little T partner gets on the radio and was like, "Hey, we just got told an officer got hit. We need an ambulance." And I was like, we probably need more than an ambulance. So I got on the radio and was just like, "We need cover code 3. Like, get anybody you can out here." And so little T partner gets back in the car, starts backing up down the highway, and I just took off running. So as I'm running, I remember another officer gets on the radio, and he's just like, "Smith, where are you?" And I'm like, my first thought is, I don't know, look at the map. But I get on the radio, and on my first phase of training, we also would never not eat on the shift. And so Norma's Diner on Park Lane was right there. And so I said, "We're just north of Park Lane on 75, right next to Norma's," because that's what I knew. And so as I'm running back, I don't know what I'm about to see. When we get back there, or as I'm running, I see a car on the right shoulder, so the opposite side of where we are, because we're on the left on the inside lanes of 75. I see a wrecked car on the other side. Okay, I didn't really think about it. And as I'm going, I see Mitchell's car, and then I look over to the left, and I see Mitchell laying on the freeway.
Was he by himself?
He was. Yeah, so he didn't have a partner, and he was the last car in our line. So right about the same time that I get there by running, my little T partner pulls behind where he's laying, and we both get to Mitchell, and he's not moving. We don't know exactly what to do, but we know we're going to try. And so my partner had trauma shears, so we start cutting stuff off. I had gloves on, the blue regular gloves, and I grab his head to try and stabilize it. And by this time, more people start showing up. And we're just trying to do anything we can. He hadn't moved. Couldn't really tell if he was breathing at this point. There was steam coming out of his mouth, but like I said, it was 11 degrees too. And so I don't know who, an officer handed me gauze, and I started to wrap his head because I knew there was blood there. And then I pulled my hands away because somebody else was like, "Here, let me take over." Okay. I pulled my hands away, and I just remember my gloves being purple. They were just covered in blood. At that point, I believe a care flight ambulance stopped to see what they could do. And we had obviously already called for the fire department to come, and they were trying to navigate their way through the traffic because we had all but one lane closed down at this point in time. After that, I don't fully remember that immediate moment after that, after the care flight ambulance got there. But I do know I stepped away whenever the fire department gets there, and whenever I remember for some reason that whenever they lifted him up on the backboard, his leg was broken, and that stuck with me. And by this time we've got a good amount of officers there, so they load him into the ambulance, and my partner and I decide that, hey, we're gonna go down there as well. So we get down to Baylor, and I went to the bathroom down there, and I just had to start washing blood off my hands and my arms. And the waiting room down there was just
flooded with officers.
Yeah. And I don't know how, but I heard someone just go, "Where are Smith and my partner?" And I was like, we're here. Like, we made it down too. And they're like, "They need y'all back up there." I'm like, okay.
Back at the scene.
Yeah. And so we drove up there. The reason that they needed us back on scene was because we were the first ones there. They didn't know what happened. I mean, honestly, neither did we. We just knew that we got told he got hit. And so we went up there, ended up actually doing like a audio and video interview with the, vehicle crimes detective.
Yeah.
And we sat in the car. As we're sitting in the car, dispatch sends out a message that he passed away. So I got out of the car. I already kind of knew that that's where it was headed.
But the finality of it.
Yeah, but that it actually has been announced. And so I just remember, I didn't talk to him about it, but I'm going to say his name. Sergeant Brian Price. He was out there, and he got out of his car about the same time. And he walked over to me, and at the time, he's lost some weight now, but at the time he was a bigger guy, and I'm not a small guy. And he just gave me the biggest hug. And I just remember I told him, I was like, I tried, Sarge. I tried. And I think that, because what can I say? I just, there was nothing else I could say to him other than I tried. And he just said, I know you did. And so after that, I don't remember who, but another sergeant came up to us and was like, "Hey, y'all are good. We don't need y'all on scene anymore." And so I asked my little T partner, because that sergeant told us, you can either go to the hospital or go home. And So I asked my little T partner what he wanted to do. And so he said he wanted to go home, and I was like, yeah, it's fine with me. And so I left, and as I said, my dad's job as a chaplain was a lot of what happened. And so I called him. It was between 3 and 4 in the morning. I just called him bawling, and just driving home, and just telling him everything that happened. And of course, my shift doesn't end until 9, and I walk in the door at 4 in the morning and scare Kayla to death because anytime you wake her up, she jump scares. Don't fully remember what I told you, but I know I told her that an officer died, and because I was putting all my stuff in the washing machine. There wasn't much more that I told her that night. I got in the shower and laid in bed and stared at the ceiling for a couple hours until my eyes got too heavy to stay awake.
Connor, thanks for walking us through that. I mean, and I know you left a lot out.
Yeah.
Did you know Mitchell?
I did not extremely well, but I did. We worked on the same watch, answered calls, covered each other.
You left the scene to go to the hospital to be with everybody, and you got called back because it had turned into an active crime scene.
Correct.
It goes from an injured officer to death of an officer to is still an active crime scene because it was a drunk driver that hit Mitchell.
Right.
Kathy said in her and Tim's episode that the night that you went in on February 13th, when you went into work, you did not come home the same person. We're going to get into how the weight that you carried from that night and what you still carry and how that looked for you. But I do want to ask Kayla, like, you're the person that he comes home to, and you had to absorb what he went through. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I remember that night, I think it was like around 2 a.m. or something. I remember looking at my phone, and you had texted me and saying that, hey, just want to let you know there was an officer injured. If you hear about it, it wasn't me. Which I feel like it's hard having a spouse in law enforcement because you don't know what kind of text or call you're going to get in the middle of the night. But I remember him coming in. I think I got out of bed. I remember vividly being like right outside our bedroom, and he looked at me and he said that Penton passed away. And I remember we just hugged and he cried into my arms. I remember that you put your clothes in the washer, and like later that night I went to check and switch over the laundry because I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any blood left on it because I didn't want him to see that. I remember laying in bed with him and really struggling because I'm a fixer and I wanted him to feel okay. I knew that probably wasn't possible in the moment, but just like really wanting to know the exact right words to say to him, but having to realize that what he needed in that moment was just someone to lay there and be with him. So it was really hard seeing him have to go through that, and he carried a lot of guilt that he shouldn't have had to carry. I remember him telling me, like, what you told Sergeant Price, like, I tried. I feel like there's more I could have done, and hearing that he was carrying that weight and that guilt when he shouldn't have to because he did everything he could do. There was like a heaviness that wasn't there before. I feel like in a way it's like he lost his innocence. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
but
it makes perfect sense.
I feel like, again, he didn't talk much about it at all. And I think that is one thing he tends to do is put down or, stuff down his feelings. We joke about that a lot, but
well, do me a favor, Connor. Why don't you talk about it?
Probably a lot of times I just don't know how, because I don't want other people to have to carry something for me.
Yeah, no, that's the protector, right?
Yeah.
That's the servant in you, and your wife being a nurse is the same, right?
Right.
It's very, very frustrating as a fixer to not be able to fix something, and you almost feel useless. And I don't think there's any worse feeling as a fixer than just feeling like you can't do anything to fix what's going on.
Yeah.
That's one of the most frustrating things. It's you've got kid, right? You got another one on the way here.
Correct.
That is one of the most frustrating things when your child is sick or there's something wrong with them and you can't do anything about it. Man, it's the same feeling again. So you're going to go through it, right?
Yeah.
And it's important that you have talked about what you've been through already, because that'll absolutely help you. I'm 100% firm believer that talking about this stuff and getting it out and actually verbalizing it helps you process it, and it's going to help your wife also. So
yeah. No,
I'm
for
sure you've talked about it more now. You just talked about it in front of her.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah, it's a method we use to try to protect everybody else.
Right.
But it's corrosive to our own health. So I'm glad that you got it out.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of going back to like with you shielding your sister when your friend passed in the car wreck. You know, it kind of goes back to that's who you are. And there's another thing you kind of told me on break, that Kayla had not heard the full story until you had dinner with the Pentons. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I believe I reached out to them and I just told them, I was like, hey, if y'all want to know what happened, I'd be willing to tell you. And so we set up a time to go have dinner, and Cheddar's and Mesquite.
Yep.
Yeah, we met them at Cheddar's and Mesquite because at the time we lived in Forney. They live in Richardson, and so it was kind of a center point. And Kayla, I hadn't told Kayla the full story of what had happened.
And your involvement, yeah.
Yeah, and my involvement in what had happened. And so I kind of briefly braced her. I was like, hey, this is not going to be good. Which, you know, I looking back now, I wish I would have told her, more. Maybe not everything, but more before this. So we got to dinner with them, and I told them just about the exact same thing I just went through here. And she got in the car afterwards, and she was like, Connor, I had no idea. And I felt bad.
Why?
Because she's my wife, and you know, I don't want to keep anything from her, let alone, you know, something as traumatic as this. Just because, you know, like she said, she's a fixer. There's nothing really to fix on this. And so I thought I was shielding her, but I think I was also at the time kind of just pushing her away from it because I didn't want her to know and to see what could also happen to me.
So you're torn because you didn't tell her, but you're also torn because you told her.
Right.
And that's where it's really difficult, because there's a balance there, right?
Yeah.
And we want to protect our spouses and our families from all the evil that we see, but at the same time, we feel guilty for not being honest and forthcoming about everything.
Right.
But I don't want to tell you everything, and there's man, it's a tough line to walk.
Yep. And line that I'll walk for the next however long.
No, it's so normal though to want to shield your loved ones from the tragedy, the grief, the violence. You know, we've lost several officers in Dallas PD's history, and so many officers were actually there to witness it and there to try to save that officer's life. And you know, you did all you could. Can you talk about the relationship with the Pentons and how that's grown since this happened?
Yeah. I'll just take you back to where it started. So I didn't know Tim and Kathy or Sydney or Garrett before this, and I didn't meet them at the hospital. I went to the viewing of Mitchell, actually, and I went up to them and I told them, hey, you know, I was the first responding officer to Mitchell that night, and at first Tim didn't say anything, but he gave me a big hug, and he just told me, he was like, it's not your fault. And the fact that he was saying that to me at the viewing, a few days, a week later, I mean, I didn't understand it, because I was so upset just that it happened in general. And this father was just showing me just that nothing I did was right or wrong. I did what I could. He told me, he was like, if he was walking into QT, he could have had a heart attack. It was just his time. And for someone to have that perspective so soon after was really just helpful in a way. And since then, we've gone to the Mitchell's End of Watch with them every year. We'll go out there and stay for a couple hours. I want to say his second End of Watch, we were pregnant with Micah, and we had decided that, if they were okay with it, that we'd like to give Mitchell's middle name, Aaron, to our son. And so we asked them about it, and, of course, Kathy cried a little bit, and but they said, of course, and, we've just really grown a special bond with them. And I think even to this day, Kathy will just, man, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. And it's like, no, I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's just like
it's more, I'm sorry we had to go through that, because
right.
she went through it as well in a different way.
But yeah, and I mean, I know that anytime I can call them and talk to them about Mitchell or about anything, I mean, they kind of just became another set of parents, if you will. And I know that they're like that for many of the officers that, were either at their house afterwards or just his academy classmates or anybody that knew him.
They definitely like to stay connected and stay involved with the Dallas Police Department and just the police profession.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they're showing up at every event, and all of our Sissy Officer Foundation events they're at, and they're always wanting to be there for us.
Yeah.
So they came on episode 81. They did their episode, and and I was very apprehensive about doing it. I've been pretty outspoken about that. But afterwards, you listened to it. Can you talk about the effect it had on you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it helped me get to know who Mitchell was as a person even more. He was always, in detail or just at work, he was always a goofy guy, but, just hearing their stories about him and his soccer and all of that, and then just getting into the story of what happened to him, just hearing them speak on everything that happened that night and the weeks and, still today. Just hearing them say that, I kind of made the decision that if ever asked, that I would say yes to come on the podcast, just to be able to tell more of the police side of the initial response, just so that people could hear that and just know that sometimes you're not going to know everything to do. Whatever you do is right,
I remember exactly where I was. I was in a Tom Thumb with my daughter Carmen shopping, and I get a call from a number I didn't have saved, and it was you.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk everybody through that?
Yeah. So at that time, the wellness unit had been formed, and y'all were going around to details and telling people like, hey, this works. And it might sound like voodoo or whatever. And, but y'all were just telling us how, whether you just go to the ATO for counseling, or, if you get a little more involved and do the EMDR, like, this works. And so
we were like a bunch of snake oil salesmen right around.
Yeah.
We still are.
Yeah, still are. But hey, you at least got one buyer. And so I called you and I was like, hey, I think I need to do this. And so you set me up and got me started on the process, and I went to see Dottie, and I feel like after the first session, I was just like, I felt a weight just lift off my shoulders.
Can you go into that a little bit more? Describe how that, well, going in, the nervousness, and I know how it feels the first time going in to see a counselor and not know what to expect.
Right.
Since doing the show, the people that listen, they kind of have an idea.
Yeah.
But you also, it's a huge unknown.
Right.
So when you were going in, were you apprehensive all about going?
I think before I called you, yes. But as soon as I made the decision, like, this is what I'm going to do, I was like, all right, let's do it. Because whenever I had 2 years to think about it, I waited 2 years to go, or almost 2 years. And so I had plenty of time to think about it and be apprehensive. And, as soon as I heard the stories and testimonies of people who it worked for, I was like, you know what? It's worth a shot. And
it's not going to hurt anything.
It's not going to get worse. Yeah. And so just being able to, and Dottie, knowing that she was an officer and so is her husband, and just knowing that she at least had a sense of what I'm going through, that just really put me at ease knowing that.
Kayla, so I'm going to ask you this. So, like, whenever he made the decision, I'm guessing y'all had a conversation. Mm-hmm. And how did that look? And what were you thinking as far as the support?
Finally.
I think throughout those 2 years, I had mentioned maybe going to therapy because I knew you were struggling just with the nightmares and getting some flashbacks. And I think also just some, like, shorter temper, I guess. But I knew he was skeptical about it. And so when he came to me to tell me he was interested in doing it, I was all for it. I'm like, yes, 100%. Like we said, it can't get worse. Like,
let's throw the kitchen sink at this thing and see what happens. No, I'm glad. And we have actually talked to so many people that their other half, off air, then they're like, yes, finally, whatever snapped to get them to reach out, they're glad that snapped.
Did you realize that you were losing your temper easy?
Looking back, just small things could just set me off, and it's like,
I felt the same way, and I didn't realize it at the time. And I was just like, when I was finally better after talking and processing everything, I was like, man, I really did fly off the handle a lot.
Yeah, I was a jerk.
It just certain things would trigger me very easily, and I was like, why am I so angry about it? Like, this isn't that big a deal. It's not like nothing really happened, but I'm over here just pouting about it. I really felt like a fool after looking back on it.
No, for sure.
So you go in to see Dottie. Did you ask for an autograph of Steve Claggett?
Oh, of course.
Good.
I got my like the little cards, the baseball cards that they used to have. I had his.
The Dallas SWAT TV show poster.
For sure.
Yeah. So how did it look whenever you went in? How quick did she want to get into EMDR with you?
Almost immediately. It was there was maybe like a 5-minute conversation, and then she was like, "All right, let's do this," and I was like, "Okay."
So the first visit,
first session we did, yeah,
because
we had kind of talked on the phone a little bit beforehand, and so I think, and then obviously having other people tell me like, "Hey, this is what you want to do," I was just kind of like, "That's what I want to do," and so. But yeah, it was really quick. I think it was the first one.
Yeah, that is very quick.
It might have been the end of the first one, though.
Wow, still, though, the first setting. Whenever it was going on, what were you thinking? Because it is an odd therapy.
Yeah, so when you first start it, you're like, what am I doing right now? I'm staring at a magnet and tapping my knees back and forth. And I had to get her to close the blinds, though, because her office has a road right behind it, and I kept getting distracted. But yeah, at first you're just like, what are we doing here? And but then you just keep doing it. She made me close my eyes, but typically I was trying to think about whatever she was telling me to think about.
Yeah. So whenever you were done, did you feel any kind of like instant relief, or how did that look for you after you were done and go home?
You're actually kind of exhausted at first whenever you go home.
Very tiring.
Yeah. I think just any time that you're exposing your feelings, it's kind of exhausting. And so, but I would say there were just parts of the story that it was pretty immediate. Like whenever I talk about my hands being purple from the blood, I used to not be able to talk about that without just vividly seeing the image of my hands. And now it's like, yeah, I know what it looks like, but I can also just file that away a lot quicker and process it quicker if I think about it or talk about it. So that one was pretty quick.
That was your trigger, right?
Yeah.
As he's going through this, is he coming home and kind of telling you about, hey, look what I learned today in school?
Not really.
No, he kept that to himself.
I mean, I remember him telling me how exhausted he was, and that, I mean, I can imagine it's a lot.
Did you have any weird nightmares or dreams, not nightmares, but dreams after doing this?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
No. And I didn't really have many nightmares. I had a couple, but most of it was just like when I thought about it, like when I was awake would be where my struggle was.
Yeah.
So if we give you an opportunity right now to recommend other officers going to see somebody or waiting 2 years, what would you tell them to do?
I would say do it way sooner than I did. So probably right after it happens would be a good suggestion. And now that I know, if anything like that ever happened to me again, I would be like, hey, Dottie, it's time for another one.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Yeah.
and she's always welcome.
Yes.
I mean, she's just pulling people in constantly, so I don't know how she keeps a schedule, but she seems to move mountains to get people in and take care of them. And
Yeah.
that's really what I wanted to hear was
Go quick.
as soon as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, once you obviously right afterwards, it's difficult to even think about yourself at that point. There's so much other stuff going on, but
Yeah.
as soon as you start to realize that there might be an issue,
Yeah.
I really try to stress, go establish that relationship
Yeah.
before you need that relationship.
Yeah. As soon as you start having trouble just thinking about it, because there's plenty of calls that I've been on that were definitely tragic, but I don't think about it the same way that I did this. It wasn't this was just something that I couldn't get to leave my mind even if I tried, and so I needed help to do that.
Well, the death of an officer and any line of duty death, the people that are there and you are a part of that and you always will be a part of that, it hits different.
Yeah.
It hits different. And I would tell officers, first responder spouses out there, that, ATO provides counseling for them as well. And I would highly recommend going before you get into a crisis situation. You don't have to endure the death of an officer
Right.
or the constant calls, the constant violence you're exposed to, the grief of others. You're carrying that.
Yeah.
And it's just different levels. And then when you're carrying it at home, guess who's usually affected by it most? And that's who's waiting on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd highly recommend, and I'm glad thank you for talking about that. We just talked about the tragedy of death, but now we're going to talk about the beauty of life. Can you tell us about the birth of Micah?
So when we first found out that we were pregnant, we were just ecstatic. I mean, we had planned to try and have a kid, and whenever we found out, it was just an amazing feeling knowing that. When was that the first appointment?
Very first.
Yeah, our first appointment with our OB at the time, not our OB anymore. We did the ultrasound, and they kind of kept the screen away from us, and so, I mean, we didn't know. This is our first kid, and so ultrasound tech lady.
It sounds official.
Yeah, it's got to be the right term. And they sent us back into not the waiting room, but the room, and the doctor came in and just bluntly was like, "Did you know y'all had twins?" no. Well, one of them passed away at about 6 weeks. And it was just like, so how's the other one? The other one's okay. It's like, your delivery is terrible, lady. And so that was a weird feeling. You know, we were, on one hand, we were grateful because we knew we had a healthy baby. But on the other hand, we learned that we lost a baby.
That you didn't even know about.
That we didn't even know about. Yeah.
What a whirlwind.
That was just a weird thing to go through at the time. And of course, I didn't know what that would mean for Micah or anything like that. And so I went to work that night. I didn't know. And so I talked to my sergeant, and he was like, go home. I was like, yeah, probably.
That's a good sergeant.
Yeah, he was a great sergeant. And so throughout that pregnancy, you know, he was measuring small, and we had to go to extra doctor, the maternal fetal medicine doctor. And I can tell you this much, Kayla will be able to tell all of this a lot better than I can. So just fill in the gaps. And so we went there, and they just kept measuring him, and they made the decision that we should induce. And so they put us down on the schedule for the induction, and apparently everybody decided to go into regular labor that day. And so they were like, no, y'all hold off. And so we waited, and then they were like, yeah, y'all can come up now. And so being there, and, you know, I got to cut the umbilical cord and everything. And
He was really great supporting me through all of that.
Yeah.
Really good coach.
It was just incredible to see. And then whenever she birthed them out, he was just beautiful. I mean, just, it was amazing.
Yeah, I remember, you know, and I talked to Kennedy about this whenever Kennedy had his firstborn, Hannah, and he was like, you know, people always say, oh, he show you a baby. Oh, it's a baby. But when you first look at your child and you actually see something that you created,
Yeah.
it definitely hits differently.
Yeah.
And now you have another baby on the way. Can you tell the listeners about who's up next, and very soon?
Very soon, yes. I'm 36 weeks, 2 days. So, I mean, I guess she could come any day now, but hopefully not. Hopefully she'll cook a little longer. But yes, her name is Madeline, and Madeline Stevie. We're very excited for her to make her appearance. We're very excited for Micah to become a big brother. I think he's going to be a wonderful big brother.
Yeah, I would say we're recording this on 7/28, 2026. And what is your due date? Your official due date?
August 23rd.
Yeah. So
Good possibility that we have a
She
baby
might
by
be
the time
here.
people hear this.
yes, it did cross my mind whenever we were because we've had to reschedule a couple of times, and I was like, man, and I looked at the bio, and it reminded me of how far along you were, and I was like, man, is this the way this luck has gone getting us scheduled?
Yeah.
We're gonna
Do this in the delivery room.
yeah.
Hey, come on.
You got
Right.
the invite.
Yeah, been a fun video. So I have a final question for both of you. You know, you've gone a long journey from starting this profession during the pandemic, going through protests that turns into riots in our entire country, to being there for the death of an officer. What advice would both of you give to officers out there that may be struggling, and if they're on the fence about reaching out, what would you tell them?
I think a big thing I definitely would say that therapy really did change Connor a lot. I think it did help. I feel like he seemed a lot happier in a way, just being able to get those feelings out. I know it's easier said than done, but talking to your spouse and maybe not, sharing all of the details. Okay. This experience, what we went through, has, I feel like, helped our communication a lot. I feel like he is more open now with what he's going through. I mean, I do think that reaching out and getting help and going to therapy and talking with your family, I mean, that, is very healing.
Yeah, and I mean, I would just say don't wait like I did. I carried it for a long time on my own. Your family, they're able to see the news. They see the Facebook updates. They see any social media post about officers getting injured. You can't completely shield them from everything that happens. So they know what happens, but it's better for you to be able to tell them and be like, explain what happened, in your life, or on that call or that shift. And so you chose them for a reason, because I love my wife, and that's why I chose her. And being able to tell her and be open with her, maybe not about everything, that all the details, but just being able to communicate and tell her the things that will help in the long run. If you feel like you're struggling, just reach out to me, reach out to Joe. Joe has my number. He can send it to anybody. But reach out to somebody and get the help that you need, you need, and the help that you deserve for doing a career that not a lot of people want to do, and that's extremely challenging at times.
Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. Down when you're lonely, I'll pull you up. Life leaves you heavy when the going gets tough. I'll be your shoulder, together we'll run. Up from the bottom, yeah, we'll rise above. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. I'll never give up on you. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far, for the gold and the blue, I'll never give up